was the claim ultimately made about Hillary Clinton, that she, when she set up a private server, an email server at her home, in which she received their passed through that classified information, even though it was unprotected, the claim from James Comey was, even though what she did was wrong and careless and reckless, she didn't have the requisite criminal intent necessary to prosecute her, and so they didn't. Now,
what does that mean, Glenn?
You may recall that Hillary Clinton lied repeatedly about what happened here. In fact, here's a PolitiFact rating from July of 2016, and you know PolitiFact would not be calling her a liar just a few months before the election unless there was extremely compelling reason to do so. She had denied, as you see there, that she had ever received or sent any material that was marked classified information on her private email server while Secretary of State. That was an absolute lie. There was classified material found passing through that private server, and therefore PolitiFact rates that as a lie. So she absolutely lied. But
I believe that the explanation for Hillary, I don't remember who else corroborated this, but I think it's like, I don't think anybody contests this. I think the issue that Hillary, at least she claimed to have had, is that you might have like an email and it's blah, 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 blah. And supposedly at the top of an email, you might get something like this. And this C means that it's confidential. And I think her claim at the time was sometimes you miss those. Now, if you're literally the head of the Secretary of State, you should know what a classified marking looks like. I don't remember there was another reason given why they might have missed those confidentiality markings. But again, the onus is on, and it should be, the onus is on the Department of Justice, the FBI, our prosecutorial bodies to prove that there was criminal intent. That's what's happened in the Trump indictments. They weren't able to satisfy that with the Hillary ones.
July of 2016, FBI Director Jim Comey, who, let us remember, was just accused by a very well-regarded prosecutor, John Durham, who, let us remember, absolutely lied. Passing through that private server, and then Secretary of State, that was an absolute lie. Or sent any minutes before the election unless there was extremely compelling reason to do so. So she absolutely lied.
I'm so curious. I'm not curious. I'm just going to assume this and be an asshole. Maybe I'm wrong. I wonder how much Glenn Greenwald has been part of the new age of like conservative apologists that constantly on fact checkers that say, oh, the fact checkers, they're all biased. All the fact checkers are biased. I wonder if Glenn Greenwald has ever said that. But he'll cite it when it. The Washington Post fact checker P-Bum continues to classify the Biden laptop as a conspiracy theory even after a new book from Politico's Shrek Reports proves the key emails are real. The actual conspiracy theory is the media and CIA's lie that it was Russian disinformation. This entire fact check reads like a DNC press release. Like the anti-information industry, this new media title, Fact Checker, is a huge fraud designed to disguise liberal media activism as something more elevated, noble, and trustworthy, like they're neutral or whatever. If you believed that in 2021, why the in 2023 are you citing a fact checker when they agree with you? Shouldn't you just go to some other body? Shouldn't you do your own homework? Shouldn't you research, like, you could even start with the PolitiFact thing and just go and research her statement and then show that it's false. Why would you ever post this after saying the whole industry is a sham? Fact checking, like virtually everything the corporate media does to feign superiority, is a total scam. Just another way for them to smuggle their own ideologically driven disinformation and conspiracy theories under a more elevated facade. PolitiFact. Why are you putting them in your video then?
But in July of 2016, FBI Director Jim Comey, who, let us remember, was just accused by a very well-regarded Sandy Berger. There's no allegation oversight. And that was the claim ultimately made about Hillary Clinton, that she, when she set up a private server, an email server at her home, in which she received their passed through that classified information, even though it was unprotected, the claim from James Comey was, even though what she did was wrong and careless and reckless, she didn't have the requisite criminal intent necessary to prosecute her, and so they didn't. Now, you may recall that Hillary Clinton lied repeatedly about what happened here. In fact, here's a PolitiFact rating from July of 2016, and you know PolitiFact would not be calling her a liar just a few months before the election unless there was extremely compelling reason to do so. She had denied, as you see there, that she had ever received or sent any material that was marked classified information on her private email server while Secretary of State. That was an absolute lie. There was classified material found passing through that private server, and therefore PolitiFact rates that as a lie. So she absolutely lied. But in July of 2016, FBI Director Jim Comey, who, let us remember, was just accused by a very well-regarded prosecutor, John Durham.
Wait, did he say that? Did he say she lied to investigators? I didn't hear that. If he said it, I listened to something that I didn't hear.
Remember, was just accused by a very well-regarded prosecutor, John Durham, in a 302-page report that he filed after a years-long investigation, that the FBI under James Comey in mid-2016 opened in a criminal investigation that became Russiagate into Trump and Russia collusion, even though there was nowhere near an evidentiary basis that would have justified the opening of a criminal investigation by the FBI. Comey did.
Wait, why do we think that there was nowhere near an evidentiary basis for that?
because, as he now admits and as we now know, he hates President Trump and wanted him to lose that election. One can certainly reasonably presume that that was a similar motive for why he chose not to prosecute Hillary Clinton, even though she also had classified material at her home that was very, very carelessly kept on an unprotected. No, certainly reasonably presume that that was and wanted him to lose that election. One can evidentiary basis that would have justified the opening of a criminal investigation by the FBI. Comey did it because, as he now admits and as we now know, he hates President Trump and wanted him to lose that election. One can certainly reasonably presume that that was a similar motive for why he chose not to prosecute Hillary Clinton, even though she also had classified material at her home that was very, very carelessly kept on an unprotected private email server that she had. Here from the New York Times, you see the headline, FBI Director James Comey.
I'm so curious. How can you... somebody said it in Kick Chat. How can you say Hillary Clinton was careless about her storage of emails on that server, but not make the exact same argument about Donald Trump? Or maybe he would make the same argument about Donald Trump and say, oh, but Hillary wasn't charged, even though the criminal intent part is...
recommends no charges for Hillary Clinton on email. Quote, the FBI Director James B. Comey on Thursday recommended no criminal charges against Hillary Clinton for her handling of classified information while she was Secretary of State, lifting an enormous legal cloud from her presidential campaign less than 2 hours before she boarded Air Force One for her first joint campaign appearance with President Obama. What a gift. What a stroke of luck. On a day of high political drama in Washington, Mr. Comey rebuked Mrs. Clinton as being, quote, extremely careless in using a private email.
I wish I could go back in time. Even though no charges were recommended, I feel like Comey's review of Hillary didn't help her. I felt like it was a scathing review. Maybe I'm just misremembering the political climate at the time? I don't remember that feeling like a sigh of relief for her, but I don't know. Maybe I remember watching the announcement live.
Server, as using a private email address and server. He raised questions about her judgment, contradicted statements she had made about her email practices, said it was possible that hostile foreign governments had gained access to her account, and declared that a person still employed by the government, Mrs. Clinton left the State Department in 2013, could have faced disciplinary action for doing what she did. To warrant a criminal charge, Mr. Comey said, there had to be evidence that Mrs. Clinton intentionally transmitted or willfully mishandled classified information. The FBI found neither, and as a result, he said, quote, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor could bring such a case. Earlier today, Hillary mocked this investigation. She promoted a hat that said "butthurt emails," which is a phrase used by liberal pundits to blame the media for Hillary Clinton's loss in 2016, saying that they excessively focused on this investigation, that it was no big deal, that she mishandled classified information, precisely because everybody knows that mishandling classified information is a joke. It's what people do in Washington every day. And not only did liberal pundits think she should be prosecuted for it, they were enraged that some media outlets, including New York Times, even reported on it and made it seem like it was a big deal. To the point where "but her emails" became an inside joke among liberal journalists, excuse the redundancy, because that was their way of saying, oh, Trump is this evil fascist and white supremacist, but her emails. In other words, the media was too even-handed in their coverage of the election by not only focusing on Trump's alleged wrongdoing with Russia, which turned out to be baseless, but on Hillary Clinton's mishandling of classified documents as well, because everyone views the mishandling of classified documents in Washington by powerful people as a joke. The only people who go to prison for that are low-level people who act with noble motives, like Edward Snowden or Julian Assange or Chelsea Manning. Powerful people.
Your motive doesn't matter here. It's the intention to willfully or intentionally...
who leak all the time get slapped on the wrist, like David Petraeus and Sandy Berger. And
slapped on the wrist, my dude? They were staring at the barrel of some pretty big charges, and they pled. Those were pleading. They pled guilty in those cases. Why are you comparing that to Donald Trump fighting all of these things to the death in court?
Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden.
And arguably for worse charges. Donald Trump's conduct was worse than Petraeus's. Donald Trump's conduct was inarguably worse than, Samuel Berger's or whatever.
Let us remember that Joe Biden has a very similar case where he was found to have
very similar case, bro.
Classified documents in all kinds of places where the law prohibits him from keeping these documents. Here from Business Insider in January of this year, quote, Biden suggests the classified documents found in his garage were safe because it was locked with his Corvette in there. That was his defense. Oh.
That defense? That wasn't a defense. That was a comment made to the media. There is no defense here because you haven't even proven a crime.
Corvette where I kept the classified documents. Obviously, I wouldn't keep my Corvette in an unsafe place. Quote, President Joe Biden confirmed Thursday that a second batch of classified documents was found in his garage, but suggested they were safe because the garage, which stored his Corvette, was locked. Do you think Mar-a-Lago was locked? At a White House press conference...
No, by definition! He didn't read the indictments. Because if he did, he would see that the indictment said that there were over 100,000 guests at over 150 social gatherings that were in areas where the documents were just sitting on a... There's even pictures there. Maybe the indictment should have been written in crayon?
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right. Bye. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.